Welcome to the Baller Boyz Podcast. They're all about sports, and more sports. And now, the Baller Boyz, Mark and Shemaiah.
Hey, welcome back to the Baller Boyz Podcast. I am Mark, and I am joined by my awesome co-host, the SOTB, the music man with the plan, Shemaiah. What's going on?
And it's time for another show, man.
Oh, yeah. It's always a good time whenever we have these shows. Guys, if it's your first time listening, we're the Baller Boyz, Mark and Shemaiah. We record a couple of shows each week. You can tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're all over the place. Any place that you listen to your podcast. We're also on YouTube now. You can find our segments on YouTube. Look up Baller Boyz Podcast, and you'll find our sick channel with the awesome banner art. So if you prefer YouTube, go check us out there. But anyway, we talk about sports, and more sports, and we're going to talk about that tonight. And more specifically, the San Antonio Spurs in the state of the team. They are currently the 10th seed at 33-45. And I just want to go through a few little ranking stats here. So they have the 18th best defense, which is that's definitely a department the Spurs want to improve in, especially going down the line with this young core. But thankfully, they have such a high ceiling at this point for growth and development for these guys that defensive stat and ranking should improve as time progresses. They are number one in assists per game in the league, which is huge. And a big part of that is because of DJ and his growth into an all-star this season. They are 8th in points and rebounds per game, which is big. So the offense is clicking. And of course, with the rise of Keldon in recent weeks and his improved play over the course of the season, of course, as we've talked about before, where his 3-point percentage has is increased dramatically, which is big because it's a 3-point shooting league in game, and you have to be able to hit threes on a somewhat consistent basis. And Keldon has done that, and he's shown flashes of athleticism with dunks. So that is all contributing to why they're in the top 10 in points per game. And of course, with rebounds per game, you got Jakob's development as a center. He has grown into a much more consistent center, probably a top 10 center at this point in the league. So there you go. And unfortunately, with the defensive ranking, this ties into that. They are 24th in opposing points allowed per game, which is not good. Good defenses don't allow so many points. And of course, as we've seen the Lakers, that's one of the big issues with the Lakers this season, which is why they're on the cusp and the brink of not even getting into the play-in, which I don't think they will. But again, you got to have good defense to win it all in this league. And the Warriors have struggled on defense as well recently, which is why they're kind of skidding at this point. They're still good, but their defense is a little bit in disarray right now. But so what do they have? What do the Spurs have going forward? They are facing the Nuggets tonight. Actually, we're recording on April the 5th, Tuesday, April 5th. As of right now, they are playing the Nuggets right now. Here's their upcoming schedule. They play the T-Wolves, the Warriors, and the Mavericks. They can win. They can win 3 out of 4 of those games if they really push it and try really hard, and barring any injury. I know DJ's been dealing with an illness recently, but if he can get back out there and ball again, and this team just gels, they can win 3 out of 4 of those games, even 2 out of 4. But basically, they're kind of a lock for the play-in as of right now. I don't see the Lakers getting in, but Shemaiah, what are your thoughts so far, just based on some of these stats that we've gone through here?
Yeah, the truth is the truth, man. Numbers never lie. You can't take anything away from it. You can't add anything else to it. It is what it is. And the Spurs are in the position that they're in because they are the Spurs. And it's a great feeling to see them do better than a lot of people thought they were going to end up at this point in time. And I think they have definitely beat the odds as far as people's expectations. If people are real and honest, we all had our doubts throughout the season. But it's nice to see them come together as a unit and get these wins. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about wins. We're not talking about close games no more. We're literally talking about evidence of them actually doing some great things. And I know we're going to plan on talking about Josh Richardson, so I'll give you a little preview. Josh has been doing very good, man. I mean, March 16th versus Oklahoma, he had, plus 20 minutes, but he also scored a decent amount of points. So he is a player that is interesting. And the reason why I say that is because he has experience in the NBA. We kind of touched on this on a previous episode, because I was saying that he got in the league in 2015, and he's been in all these different teams, Miami, Philly, Dallas, Boston, and now he's with San Antonio. We're going to get into it deeper, but he is a player that you want, as a San Antonio fan, keep your eye on, because he's bringing experience that is unique. And city of San Antonio is unique. And the players, the coaches, all that is a unique type of thing, because we're not like any other flashy team in the NBA. We're kind of old school. We're kind of like a system type organization where we always have the high standards and expectations, but we're not the exciting team that you see on ESPN top 10 plays all the time. But my point is, this is a team that you can appreciate like wine. It just ages like wine, and it gets better as time goes by.
Yeah, and I think it's I like that you brought up how the Spurs organization isn't like any other franchise, any other team management. It just comes down to trust. That's something that I've noticed has really been spotlighted, at least over this organization, in the past years. Even with the big three era of Manu, Duncan, and Parker, there was always that trust between the players and the organization and the coaching staff. And even though the Spurs are in a reset mode at this point in time, they still got a lot of young guys who are trusting their coaches, trusting their GM, the team, the franchise, to build around the pieces that are here now, and to continue to build around them. And to me, that's what stuck out the most. And maybe that's helping motivate that underlying trust that these players have with their organization, because their last 7 games, the Spurs have gone 6-1. This isn't including the Nuggets game that is happening tonight right now, but 6-1, that's a big deal. These young Spurs players are motivated. They're not giving up when a lot of people, recommended they just tank. No, they said, screw that. We're going to throw the ball into the net. We're going to lead the league in assists. We're going to be top 10 in points and rebounds. This team easily could have just given up and maybe not played with as much fire and passion, but the complete opposite has happened. And it's interesting because we've seen the development of DJ into an all-star this season, but now we're seeing Keldon continue to grow and shine and get more confidence. And I think that's where the improvement of DJ comes in, because now he's kind of motivating Keldon to also want to do the same. And we might not have to wait we haven't had to wait till next season for Keldon to make that jump, because I think he's already, although he's not an all-star, he's definitely made strides this season, especially in his 3-point shooting. That's the big thing I noticed with him. He improved by 7% from 3-point range, which is a big deal in this league. And that's how you're going to get minutes. That's how you're going to get points. And that's how you're going to add diversity to your offensive game and make defenders respect you. So the Spurs team is not backing down. They're not giving up, and nor should they. I think, I don't know why team tank was a thing, but I mean, it's obvious this team is in. They're in it to win it. They're all in. And the Spurs should not have any reason to take their foot off the pedal, because they're going at lightning speed, and they should, continue with that momentum going into the play-in rounds. Because at this point in time, if you're a fan, you want these guys, sure, the draft's important, but you want these guys to get playoff experience early while they're younger, so that as the years go on, they can continue to understand the difference in environment and vibe and situations between regular season and playoff time. And I think that's going to be crucial for their growth and development. And that's how the alphas come out and make better decisions. DJ with more playoff experience is way better off than DJ without any sort of playoff experience because, let's say they get into they have the play-in game, right? DJ makes some mistakes. Well, better to make those mistakes now than 2 years from now. So that's what I like about that is it's making them, you're going to make mistakes. You got to take some L's to get some W's. That's just how it works. And for the young players to grow, you got to let them make those mistakes, especially in the playoff picture, so that they can take that in, absorb it, and learn from it going forward. And that's how championship teams are created. Fewer mistakes, more playoff experience, shake off the nerves since they've been there before.
Well, I'm going to say something bold, man.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do on the Baller Boys. We don't just kind of settle for the mediocre type of talk. So I'm going to shake things up, man. I'm going to say this. Spurs can go as far as they want to this season. I'm going to leave it at that. Because what we're seeing, I think, is awesome. But let me explain why. There's another player that no one's really talking as much as they should, and that's Zach Collins. And let me tell you why. He's another player that has some good experience in the NBA. He's been in the league since 2017. And here's the thing. April 3rd versus Portland, team they used to play for, he had over 30 minutes of game time. He was playing a lot of minutes. Had 13 rebounds, 18 points in that game. The game before that one, Portland again. April 1st, April Fools, he fooled them pretty good. They thought they were going to be sleeping. No, this guy decided to play 25 minutes, 15 points, and 9 rebounds.
Man.
So my point is Zach Collins is not the person you want to sleep on if you're a Spurs fan. Like, I think we got to change up names because I think sometimes people just change. No, my point is, like, we pick and choose certain players on the team to talk about, and we kind of overlook some of the other players.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to say is, like, people like Zach Collins, like, they balling.
Trey Jones. Yeah.
Trey Jones too.
Jay Rich, Lonnie.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said Trey Jones because him as a point guard, we need him to be on fire. He had 18 points on the Portland game on April 3rd. He had 7 rebounds. He had played over 30-plus minutes that game. So my point is, we have young players. Something's starting to click. And I know it's going to be so many doubters. It's kind of late in the season. Well, if any time you can pass LeBron's team, let me just say this. It makes the season, let alone the playoffs, even more interesting now for the West. Am I saying something crazy that the Spurs can do something crazy? I don't know. I won't confidently say it personally, but I will put boldly out there that we should put our seatbelts on and see what the Spurs are going to do finishing this season, because it might be something special that can give us a preview of what can happen next season, where I will be bold enough to say I believe we could dominate next season, depending how we finish this season, this current season that we're in.
Yeah, no, without question. I'm glad you brought up a lot of those guys' names too, like Collins, Trey Jones. I mean, those, and that, again, I think that's why I wish the Spurs, like, franchise and organizational culture would be a little more appreciated, because I mean, when you have a coaching staff and an organization, again, I think this ties in with the trust that these young guys have in this organization and their coaching staff and Greg. They are motivated to ball out and play as hard as they can. Even right now, they're playoff bound. They're in the play-in right now, and I don't see them getting out of that spot with the Lakers' continued dissension. And with how the Spurs have been playing, they've been playing lights out. They want to play as well as they can. Perfect? Absolutely not. Growing pains? Yeah, definitely. But they are playing with passion and fire. And again, their youth here is where is really coming in handy. It's really helping them stick out because they have more energy out there on the court. They're willing to take more chances, take more risks, and heck, do that. Sometimes they're not all going to pay off, but that's how you learn. That's how these players are going to learn from mistakes and get better as players. That's how DJ is going to get better to take that next step. That's how Keldon is going to take that next step. That's how Pirtle has taken that next step. And these guys did not get that way out by doing nothing. They have made mistakes. They have taken chances, and they have worked on their game, and they've learned from their past mistakes. So this young, fiery team is not going away. They are going to play hard. And as of right now, the play-in matchup looks like the number 10 Spurs seed would play the number 9 New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans. The Spurs have beaten this team before, so they can definitely go beyond this initial play-in round. And as of right now, it looks like Minnesota and the Clippers would play each other, and the loser of that would play the winner of San Antonio Spurs, New Orleans Pelicans. If that's the case, the Spurs would be facing off against more likely the Clippers, because I don't see the T-Wolves losing to the Clippers. But even then, the Spurs can beat the Clippers too. On any given night, the Spurs can give a team trouble. And that just goes to show you how the future and the potential of this team going down the line. And I think that means a lot. And again, it just goes to show how these guys are passionate and trusting in where they are. And it means a lot when these guys trust each other, trust their organization, and just ball. They just play. They're just playing with the passion of basketball in mind. So with that being said, Shemaiah, we just discussed the state of the Spurs right now. Real quick, I want to ask you something. So we're pretty confident that the Spurs can beat the Pelicans. Doesn't mean they will, but they've proven that they can beat them, which is going to definitely help that Spurs mindset in the play-in round when they do play New Orleans. Do you think the Spurs will beat the Clippers?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And my reason is because they are clicking right now, okay? People don't necessarily want to say, the Spurs are, a threat now. Well, I get it. They didn't have a consistent, season thus far. But my point is, if you look at the last few games, people have been stepping up. People have been literally playing as if they finally flow together. Because I think the trust was always there. It wasn't that it was a trust issue with the players working together. I think it's more so just finding a system that flows, that they can literally capitalize on. And here's the thing. The Clippers is a good team. It's not a scrubby team. They're a decent team.
They did just get Paul George back, but even before Paul George came back, they were a gritty team for what they were able to accomplish without Kawhi and George.
But if the Spurs, if they pass them, that's a statement, man, because like I said earlier, this is basically what we're seeing now at the end of the season. I believe is a preview of domination for next season. Yes, you heard me say it. People believe I'm crazy. But you know what? I just got one thing to ask you. Where's LeBron and the Lakers right now? Okay, exactly. I rest my case. My point is, this young team, in my opinion, they can, talent-wise, become stronger than anybody's expectations. Because let's keep it 100. We don't have no Steph Curry or anything like that as far as talent level. But when you talk about having that grind, that blue collar type vibe, you know what I'm saying? That hustle.
Passion. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That is going to do damage next season. I will be the first one to say I can see the Spurs get a chip next year. I know that sounds crazy.
That's bold.
I know that sounds crazy. And I know I almost got lightheaded saying that, but my heart is saying I like what I'm seeing from these younger players. I know I can hear Stephen A. Smith in my ear. Shut up. But
how are his Knicks doing though?
But right. But like I said, I can see it happen. I'm not saying that it will guarantee happen. I'm just saying I can see it happen, because if they play like this next season consistently, they dangerous.
Oh, I could see them in the top 6 next season. I could see them finishing in the playoffs top 6.
But my point too, and the last thing I'll say is they will definitely have to muscle their way in, because on talent level, we have to be real. There's just other players that are just like super more talented. Just be honest. All right. We're not, no one on the Baller Boys is saying that anybody is better than Steph and all the LeBrons and all that. We understand that. But the point is, this is a special unit. Because
team sport.
Exactly. The history of the organization, influence is heavy. And with this kind of team, the talent that is there, it can be something special to watch next season. I think personally, if they end the season with a higher confidence, it'll set them up for greatness for next season. So that's my take. And of course, they could beat the Clippers.
Yeah. And with Paul George back, that'll be interesting. I think they can beat them, which is really great mindset for them to go into that game. Of course, if they do end up being New Orleans, and if the T-Wolves end up beating the Clippers, that'll be a great mindset for the Spurs, knowing that, hey, look, no one expected us to be here. No one expected us to beat New Orleans. We're now facing Paul George and the Clippers, who were supposed to be championship contenders. Man, we got to be feeling pretty good. So that's what I think the mindset would be for those young Spurs players. And the thing is, there's no pressure on them. They don't have to win. They're not expected to win.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Like, there's literally no pressure, because no one has been consistently saying a different narrative of the Spurs. It's all, not all, but a lot of it, too much of it has been a negative, like, spin off, like inconsistency. But some of it was true, but some of it was just like people just losing faith in the Spurs. But they stepped up when people stepped out. And that's what's so powerful about this moment for the organization, is that they are proving people wrong yet again. And we should not be surprised. And I'll say this, I would not be surprised if the Spurs just so happen just keep, beating our expectations this season. Because I would put in this picture, the Spurs can do whatever the heck they want this season, especially the fact that we're seeing the Lakers struggle the way they're struggling. I mean, to be honest, that just kind of opens up a little bit of that window of opportunity. And they seize the moment, like between now and the next few games, dude, we can be watching something very special. I'm not crazy to say that they can get a championship this season, but man, I think this city be lit if that were to happen this season.
I think, and the thing is, I think true Spurs fans would look at this season and say that this was a very successful and productive season for what it is. There's a lot of people looking outside, like looking in, would look at this as, oh, well, they're barely a play-in team. They're not doing anything special. They're not making waves. But I think the real Spurs fans and sports analysts out there are taking a look at what's happening with this young roster and seeing the leaps and bounds that certain players have made.
Yeah, because you're like, wait, hold up. They what? This is the same team that's about to what? Nah, what?
Wait, what? This team somehow got a top 10 center developed. They got an all-star for the first time in a little while.
Yeah.
They're a team that has been very close to beating contenders and have beaten contenders. I think those are all flags for people looking on the outside to take a closer look at this team and see just how good of a season they've had all things considered.
Yeah. But, there's still going to be some pieces they got to fill in.
Of course.
But I would, based on what we're seeing right now, I put this all in the Spurs' hands because I'm basically watching like a fan now, because there's really no way you can make an argument that they'll win championship this season. Like, I'm just being honest. There's no real way you can say that, but don't count this out. My heart is like screaming, boy, would it be awesome to have a Cinderella story and they get the whole thing this year. But that's my heart on Pluto and Mars and Venus all put together. But it is, like you said, we kind of said together, this is a great stepping stone to set the tone for the future of the Spurs, because it really puts us in a better position to basically be like, hey, we can get that next chip a lot quicker now, because y'all thought it was a disaster as far as like, you know, inconsistencies and some weak spots in certain areas. But hold up. We start looking underneath the microscope. There's actually some value that y'all have been overlooked. And boom, it's going to be something special. I'm telling you, the future Spurs is going to be powerful. I mean, we're talking about, I feel like when we get to that right place, when we have all the pieces together, you're looking at back-to-back championships, man.
Yeah, they're going to be better sooner rather than later. And like you said, this season has been a building block, and I think they're going to continue to build off of the success that they've accomplished this season. So with that being said, we've covered the state of the Spurs, but Shemaiah, we have to answer a tough question. And we've kind of brought this upon ourselves, but that's what we do here on the Baller Boyz. We ask ourselves some tough questions, and sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't, which I think makes things interesting. But so there are two particular players on the Spurs right now who have been making waves, and it's very interesting how their paths have kind of crossed, because one of them had a stretch after the trade deadline where Derek White was traded to the Boston Celtics. This gentleman, Lonnie Walker, was lights out right after Derek White was traded. He had a string of games where he was just scoring 20 points off of like 25 minutes a game, like coming off the bench and really contributing. He's since kind of been off and on. But speaking of the trade deadline, the Spurs acquired Josh Richardson. And after that trade, he has been a heavy contributor as well. And he's slowly been getting more minutes. And I think that's because he's getting more trust with the coaching staff and Pop. But Shemaiah, I'll just skip right to this question. So it's a tough one, but that's what we're going to answer here. Who would you keep if you're the Spurs organization and can only keep one? Because more than likely, they're only going to be able to keep one of these two guys just because of money. And, you know, from a business standpoint, you got to look at it long term for team building. It's important to be able to figure out numbers and give the right guys the right kinds of contracts. So, Shemaiah, who would you keep on the Spurs team going forward, aka an extension? Lonnie Walker or Josh Richardson?
It's a tough answer to give, to be honest. And reason why is because Josh has been in the league longer than Lonnie. So one can make a valid point that, yeah, keep him because he has that experience that you can't really teach.
I think he's 28 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you can make a valid point. Man, he has experience, though. Like, he's been on multiple teams. He knows the rope. Like, he knows the NBA league. Lonnie, on the other hand, he's only been in the league for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? And I hope that's correct. No, wait, is it 3 years?
Oh, well, I'll look it up.
All right, but I believe it was 3 years. But you can argue the point, well, he's a young player that can grow into something super huge, right? Like the whole Tim Duncan effect. Like, I'm not comparing him to Tim Duncan. I'm just saying, as far as, you know, being a young player in the league.
4 years.
Oh, 4 years. Okay, sorry.
Close. We were close, though.
At least it wasn't more than One off.
He's actually like older than Josh Richardson.
Oh, wow. Dang.
No, I'm just kidding. I was making a joke.
I was like, wait, what? I'm totally messed up now. Okay, no, but yeah. So as I'm trying to illustrate the valid points why one will be kept, the other one wouldn't. My heart says Lonnie, man. But logic tells me, Josh is the one because he's been putting better numbers if we're keeping it honest. But
do you want me to read you some of these some stats here from the last 10 games for both guys?
Yeah, really... let me give my final
say go ahead. Yeah.
So my heart says Lonnie, but logic it says Josh. So tough decision. I love Lonnie. Man, this sounds so bad. All right, my heart says Lonnie. But I think I think he has something that can really have a glue for the team. So I had to say I will go with my gut, and that's Josh. But my heart is Lonnie.
And it's interesting because
it's a very painful answer.
It's tough because Lonnie definitely has like the most character out of the two.
Yeah, I think he has a spirit that people can really vibe with. But when it comes to leadership, though, I feel like Josh just slightly over the edge.
Yeah. So I'm going to go over some numbers here. So the last 10 games, Lonnie has averaged 11 points per game on 41% shooting, 33% from three. So that's kind of rough. But his last 3 games, he shot 20%, and 28% from three. Now, we just talked about how after Derek White was traded, he went on this string of just wild scoring sprees. His field goal percentage, I think, had improved from all across the board. He was contributing basically like a spark in the darkness. And he's kind of slowed down since. He's had ups and downs, but that's not good from, your 3-point percentage, like on a nightly basis. You can't have shooting performances like that. But his season was he's averaging 12 points per game on 40% field goal shooting, 31% from three. Again, could definitely be better on 23 minutes per game. Now, Jay Rich, his last 10 games, going back to the last 10 here, 13 points per game, 45% field goal shooting, and 40% 3-point field goal shooting in those last 10 games. So all improvements across the board from Lonnie's last 10 in comparison to Josh's last 10. So Jay Rich has definitely been playing more improved basketball and better basketball than Lonnie has. And it's interesting because Jay Rich has slowly been getting more minutes, and Pop has been trusting him with those minutes. So as far as the season, again, with Lonnie, his season, he was averaging 12 points per game, 40% field goal, 31% from three on 23 minutes. Here's Josh's season. Only 10 points per game, but remember his situation changed after the trade deadline. He's now getting more minutes. So 10 points per game, 43% from field goal range, 40% from 3-point field goal range on 24 minutes per game. So they're both playing around the same amount of minutes, but Jay Rich has been getting more minutes recently, and he's been used more often, and he's been contributing, like you mentioned prior. He's been getting like more double-digit games. He had a 25-point game not too long ago. So he can come off the bench and contribute immediately. And for me, I think Jay Rich is a valuable 6th man going forward for the Spurs. And I think they can give him a nice team-friendly contract. I think they can also get a decent contract with Lonnie as well, now that he's kind of slowed down from his scoring spree. But I think they might be better off again. And I like that you mentioned Josh has been in the league a little longer. So he's 28 years old. So he's been around, he's got experience in different locker rooms. And I think the team already sees him as like a 6th man role model, like figure anyway. And I think the team trusts him with those minutes that they're giving him to provide off the bench. His scoring numbers, again, a little bit less than Lonnie, at least from a season average, but his field goal percentage all across the board has been better. And I think that's what the coaching staff sees in Richardson. They see more consistency. And ultimately, that's how you get minutes. If the coaching staff trusts you and your field goal percentage is good, they're going to put you out there on the floor and they're going to trust you, even on nights when you don't have great games. You know, that's how you build trust with the team, because you show what you can do on a more consistent basis. And to me, Jay Rich is the choice, man. I think they give him the extension. I love Lonnie. I like his character. I like his passion, his fire, his spirit. You could tell he's a locker room type of guy, team-friendly type of guy. But if I had to pick one and I can't keep them both, I got to go with Jay Rich on this one.
Well, Lonnie can be super, super duper valuable to another team. Like, if I was another team, I'd be like, yo, I'll be calling the Spurs, like, how much you want? I'm serious. Like,
yeah.
He can add so much value to any team in the league, to be honest. Because what he has going for him is that he's young. He's not old. This guy has at least 6, 7, 8 years in the league of prime time stats. You know, I don't think he has reached his fullest potential as a basketball player. I feel like we're just seeing some sparks, and he's still getting used to the league as far as like his role or whatever you want to call it. But I think he could position the Spurs to have a nice opportunity to do something in the future as far as make a deal. But like I said, the main thing is that when it comes to the whole experience in the league, that's where Josh just edges him out a little bit. But it's not by a mile, to be honest, because anybody can make an argument with Josh and Lonnie and say Lonnie will have more energy or whatever, you know what I'm saying, long term. You know what I'm saying? Because after 2 years, will Lonnie be like a superstar and Josh be like slowing down? So like it can be an argument both ways. But if you're talking about like what will be beneficial like at this very moment, yeah, Josh edges him out just a little bit, but not by a lot.
Yeah, we're answering this from like a team perspective. Like,
exactly.
If you're the Spurs organization, like how are you going to go about this decision?
And as far as like what is like important at this very moment, as far as like us competing for a championship, like that, I'm sure is everyone's focus, because it's like, we're the Spurs, man. Like, we are going to make people respect us again, because a lot of people have been laughing at the Spurs, but that's because they're ignorant, man. They don't understand the history. And when you have a franchise like the Spurs that is special, that is unique, there's no other team that can claim what we have, period.
Right.
So whatever happens, the Spurs organization is going to take care of either one of those players. You know, they're the experts. We're just the amateurs who love the game.
Yeah, we're just want to be like sportsters who have a podcast.
But that's what's powerful about the Spurs organization. They are going to take care of one or the other. They're going to make sure they get a best deal, whatever is meant to be in the future. But, man, I mean, what you have seen from Josh is like, yo, that's kind of nice. It's not like a mediocre, like, you know, he made some foul shots. It's more like, yo.
It's immediate. Yeah, it's immediate nice. Consistency. Yeah, it's really almost good.
It's like when you flip the other side of the pillow and it's actually cool in the summertime. Like, oh, yeah, it's not hot like the other one. You're kind of fitting into the system.
And it's even more impressive, like just building off of what you just said, it's even more impressive that this guy was acquired like right near the end of the trade deadline. And it's amazing to see how well he's gelled with the team and how the team plays and the schemes.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because not every pick or every decision actually connects. Sometimes it falls through.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's interesting because Josh plays the way he's been playing recently, and his percentages is good and stuff. But the way he's been gelling with this team, if you would think that he's been with this team for 2 or 3 years by now. And the fact that he is clicking with them and his teammates so fast, again, I think that's what's also helping the trust factor come in and why they're trusting him with extra minutes and more minutes than usual.
Here's a good point to make. Do you think Josh, his presence right now, has definitely played a role and influenced this team in the way they're playing currently?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So without Josh's presence, man, I think we'd be talking about a different situation.
Yeah. They may not be saying playing. That's for
exactly.
Sure,
so that's what man, see, money, swish.
Right.
Like we need a sound effect for that. Like when it's a good point.
Cha-ching.
Right.
Yeah. Jay Rich, man. Great nickname. And I hope they keep him. Again, like, I want what's best for both guys, but again, we're answering this tough question. It's a tough question for a reason. We want to keep both of them. We, as like people who respect the Spurs, we want both of these guys and these guys. We want both of them to stay on this team. But looking at it from this business standpoint, one or the other, we're answering a tough question. We're just making our decisions and our choices, and we want the other guy who doesn't end up staying to go get paid because he deserves that. If Lonnie goes out, gets a nice contract, he deserves that. He balled out this season.
And there's a good point that you're making right now. If one of them were to leave, the best one would have to be Lonnie because he'll get paid better.
And that's kind of what makes
the other
question
guy left,
tough. Yeah,
you'd probably be just like, it won't be a super great deal, in my opinion, because it's like they're gonna be like, well, he's kind of more experienced. How long we gonna keep him though? But you get Lonnie though, it's almost like a steal because it's like this guy is young, he can mature his game more, and we can keep him for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. He is younger. I mean, we probably haven't seen his peak yet, but again, we're looking at it from what the team needs now and for next season, and ultimately how they could save some cash. They've got a lot of cap space going into next season, but with the rise of DJ, if Keldon becomes an all-star next season, you got to start thinking about roster management and how you hand out contracts. And you just have to, in general, in the NBA, you just have to plan out your contracts and your free agency accordingly. And that's just good business. And again, we're tackling this tough question because it's a tough question and it's a business question. And again, we like both of these guys. We think they both play hard. They've shown this season, funny enough, around the same time, very close to each other, bright spots and hot streaks. And we ultimately want what's best for both guys. But if both of them are not able to hang around and one of them does go, we hope they just go get paid. For the guy who, I'm sure the Spurs will pay the one who stays here nicely anyway, but let's say they just don't want to drop the extra money to spend on both guys. Other guy goes out, he deserves a contract, go get paid, go provide. And maybe Lonnie turns into an all-star for another team, and good on him. And again, if anything, he wouldn't be able to have that opportunity here. There's just other positions, and it's the timing and minutes are tight already in the Spurs organization and in the minutes and how they handle minutes and restrictions and how they hand out like minutes to guys. It's a crowded house in the Spurs organization and in the locker room right now. So if Lonnie can go out and get 30 minutes a game as a starter, maybe he can go ahead and it would help it with his development, and maybe he turns into an all-star. So, we'll see what happens, but we made our picks. Y'all, thank you for joining us for this tough question. And that's what we're going to do here. The Spurs are in good hands, and they're going to continue to build off of the success that they've already accomplished this season. So that being said, Shemaiah, what do you think? You think we close the case on this one?
Yeah, man. And I would just like to say, reminder, we are doing this recording on Tuesday, April the 5th. And right now is 9:42 p.m. I'm just checking a live update with the Spurs. They're up, man. They beating Denver right now, which is very awesome. And double-digit lead right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, huge motivation booster right there. Yeah, huge confidence booster too, especially. Yeah, this Spurs team is here to play, that's for sure. But
like they get this game, willing they get this game. I think it's going to set the tone for the mindset of that locker room right now.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, if they can beat the Nuggets, who are kind of up there in the upper half of the West right now. So, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Well, I think we got it, man. We have covered the state of the Spurs. We've answered a tough question. And we thank y'all for joining us here on the Baller Boys. I'm Mark. He's Shemaiah. Hit us up on Twitter. My Twitter is Mark TH 3 3s, no E's, capital M, capital C. Mark the MC. That's my Twitter handle, not hander. Handle.
Shemaiah, country on those, man.
I know, right? Shemaiah, what's your handle, man?
Well, my hander is Shemaiah the BT.
The BT.
Oh my God! Yeah.
What have I done?
Yeah, that was a country, man. Wow.
Oh man.
You had the country come out.
I know we got the country come out of both of us, man.
What about the banjo for the outro music?
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us on the Baller Boys Podcast. You can find the Baller Boys Podcast on any of your favorite podcast streaming services, whatever, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube now too. So if you prefer to open up the YouTube app and listen while you're working out, while you're, using the bathroom, while you're on your lunch break, feel free to, pop it open, pop up that YouTube app and just take a listen. We have short segments. We're releasing multiple episodes a week. So tune in next time when we talk about your favorite sports, and more sports. I'm Mark. He's Shemaiah. Tell your mom, tell your grandma. Baller Boys Podcast. Peace out.